Hi guys. So we'll look at the architecture which we are going to follow along with this course. So we'll be following this particular architecture in which our end users will be talking to API gateway. So API gateway is basically the project which will be handling the external requests. So basically external requests which are coming from the internet are not directly hitting our customer or fraud detection service. They will be routed through this API gateway. So this will also act as a load balancer for our microservices. So we'll be creating this API gateway in Spring Cloud, and this will be forwarding the request to the customer. So customer microservice is basically handling the registration part of customer. So basically users who wants to register into our application would be registered through this customer microservice. This customer microservice has its own database which is in Postgres. So all the customers are saved to this Postgres database. Then customer microservice talks to fraud detection microservice. So basically when customer is being registered, the fraud check is done for that particular customer in order to identify if that particular customer is a legitimate one or a fraudulent one. So in case if the customer is fraudulent one, he won't be registered into our system. So this fraud detection microservice takes care of fraud check basically, and it also has its own database which is also Postgres database. But basically you are used to I mean you are free to use any other database for that matter, because as in microservices architecture there should be single database per microservice, and you're free to use any other database as per your use case. There will be a message queue in between customer fraud detection and notification microservice. So this message queue is basically to handle asynchronous communication into our microservices application. So basically whatever notifications are generated while the customer is being registered or fraud check is being done for that particular customer, that uh, notifications or events get generated, and those events will be stored in our queue. And this notification service is basically picks those messages in asynchronous manner from this queue, and this notifications service is responsible for processing those notifications. And for now we have provided this Postgres instance only to store those notifications. but it but if you want, you can send those notifications through email or SMS as well. And there are some external services which are being provided for in this architecture. The one which we see here is Eureka server. So this basically is for service discovery purpose. So whatever microservices we have in our microservices architecture will register themselves with this Eureka server as a client, and if they want to intercommunicate between each other, they will be using this service discovery mechanism in order to identify the service which they want to talk to. So this service discovery will be providing through Eureka server basically, and we'll be externalizing all the configurations for our microservices in config server. So basically all the configurations which are required for microservice will be externalized in this config server, and we'll be using micrometer and zipkin dashboard. So basically micrometer is used for distributed logging and tracing purpose. It will be assigning trace ID to each request coming from the end user, and it will be spanned across multiple microservices. Like if the customer is being registered, then request will come to API gateway. It will flow to customer service, and customer will be uh, uh, calling this fraud detection service to detect the fraud customer, and after that it will be passed through notification service. So this particular flow of request, it will be tracked through this micrometer, and it will assign a trace ID to that particular request and span ID when it when it passes through customer to fraud and fraud to notification. So this way we'll be able to identify the request flow, and through a Zipkin dashboard we'll be able to see how much time it takes in how much time that request takes when it passes through all these microservices. So using this you'll be able to identify bottlenecks or performance issues in your microservices application. So this is all about architecture of our microservices, which we are going to develop along with this project. So we'll be developing these all these microservices components along with me in a practical manner. Thank you.